Think about the sheer audacity of some human achievements, right?
Yeah.
The Wright brothers going from imagining flight to actually doing it in just a few years.
Yeah, it's incredible.
And Roger Bannister cracking the 4-minute mile, something people genuinely believe the human body just couldn't handle.
Physically impossible, they say.
Exactly. And landing on the moon before 1970. When you look at those leaps, it really makes you think, what does doing the impossible mean in your own life? You know, based on the kind of drive that makes those things happen.
For sure. And today, we're digging into Patrick Bet-David's Doing the Impossible, the 25 laws for doing it, to explore exactly that.
Okay.
What's interesting is, yeah, he touches on those big historical things, but the core of his message, it's really about that personal transformation, the stuff we need to do, and finding a cause that really, lights a fire under you.
Yeah, and you can tell it's personal for him. He mentions his wife, Jennifer, and a whole bunch of friends who gave feedback. Plus these pivotal figures in his life, Kim Sinclair, Drill Sergeant Green. Sounds intense.
Huh, probably was.
His Army buddies from the 326 ENG Battalion, mentors like Francisco Davis, Dave Kirby, it just highlights how the people around us can really fuel or maybe hinder our own attempts to do something big.
Definitely adds that relatable layer. And the structure of the book, recreate yourself, then identify your cause, and finally go make history. It gives us a pretty clear roadmap, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It feels like it's aimed squarely at anyone listening who has that hunger for something more, you know?
Yeah.
A desire to achieve something significant, and this is key, the willingness to actually, roll up their sleeves and do the work.
Right, it's not just dreaming.
No, it's deciding, making a conscious choice to chase your own impossible. He even says, take notes, read it in 2 weeks. Like, he wants you in it.
Yeah, active engagement.
So let's jump in, that first part. Recreate yourself.
Yeah.
Law 1, invest in your identity. What's at the core idea there?
Well, he argues your identity isn't fixed. It's something you build, you earn through hard work and seeking information.
Yeah.
How you see yourself fundamentally shapes what you think you can pull off.
He uses that really striking example, Melissa, right? Bounced back financially because she identified as a high earner. That was just who she was.
Exactly. It was her baseline.
And then the flip side, these lottery winners, like Jack Whittaker Jr., huge windfall, right? $314 million Powerball.
Wow.
But, well, it sounds like he lacked the identity to handle it. Led to just awful outcomes, family tragedies, lawsuits, losing everything. Makes you wonder if success can stick without that internal peace.
It's a tough story, and it really connects to that Churchill quote he uses. The empires of the future are empires of the mind. It hammers home that your external world often reflects your internal one. Want to change things out there, you've often got to start by changing how you think, who you believe you are in here.
And to really drive home the investment part, he gives that week's breakdown of an associate's time. So much time on, sleep, work, even TV.
Yeah, 28 hours of TV.
Right. And then just 1 hour on personal development. 1 hour. Seeing it laid out like that, how can 1 hour compete with the other 167? It really makes you look hard at your priorities.
It does. Are they actually aligned with the identity you want? It shows that changing your identity isn't passive. It takes deliberate effort, deliberate time.
Okay, so Law 2 builds on this. It's about who you hang out with. Let the right ones in.
Yeah, the classic saying, right. You become the average of the 5 people you're closest to. He really hammers this, how much our relationships shape our views, our goals. Basically, who we become.
He brings up some fascinating examples. Walt Disney and Ray Kroc, way back when they were ambulance drivers.
No way.
Yeah. Bill Gates and Warren Buffett on philanthropy. Magic and bird competitors, but friends pushing each other.
That rivalry was legendary.
And then literary folks like Emerson and Thoreau, C.S. Lewis, and Tolkien. These connections clearly mattered.
They really show the power of association. But like you said before, shifting those circles, it's not always smooth sailing.
No, he mentions that friction. That basketball player outgrowing his YMCA buddies. That felt real. Your paths diverge, and it gets awkward.
He even quotes Proverbs. Wounds from a friend are better than many kisses from an enemy.
Ooh, that's pointed.
It speaks to valuing honest feedback, even the tough stuff, from people who actually care about your growth. He basically frames relationships as assets or liabilities.
Assets or liabilities.
Yeah.
Interesting way to put it.
And he stresses getting mentors. Then he uses that Gandhi quote about truth first ignored, then ridiculed, then fought, then you win. It's a reminder that change, even just changing who you hang with, can face resistance.
Totally. The takeaway for me is being intentional, not ruthless, but choosing who reflects the identity you're building. And Yeah, you got to bring value too, right? It's not just about taking.
Exactly. It's a two-way street. He also mentions Schopenhauer on the stages of truth, adding another layer to why new ideas, even personal ones, get pushback.
Okay, so you've curated your circle. Next up, Law 3, protect your credibility score. Seems straightforward.
Pretty much, be a bridge builder, not a bridge burner. He just emphasizes the long-term cost of lacking integrity. It damages your reputation, your ability to get anything done, really.
Yeah. He uses that quote. Uh, Nearly all men can stand adversity, but if you want to test a man's character, give him power.
Yeah, that one hits hard.
It really makes you think about how you treat people, especially when you have some influence. That's the real test.
For sure. Then Law 4 moves to self-education. Strengthen your greatest weapon. He kind of questions why learning seems to stop for so many after formal school.
Especially now. Information is everywhere. It seems kind of weird to just stop.
Right. He quotes Sun Tzu. One should never stop being trained. That is a victory. Continuous learning, like sharpening a blade. He even talks about listening to educational stuff on his commute instead of just, the radio.
And that commute time adds up. An hour a day. That's over 360 hours a year.
Exactly. Huge chunk of time. Could be serious development time instead of just zoning out. Really makes you rethink those in-between moments.
It really does. Okay, Law 5 digs deeper. Challenge your way of thinking. He shares his own story here, right? Hitting rock bottom.
Yeah. Late 90s, early 2000s, $50 K in debt, tons of credit cards, terrible credit score. He says that was the wake-up call to change his mindset.
It's powerful when someone's that open. He brings in Einstein.
The classics. You cannot solve a problem with the same level of thinking that created it.
And the world we have created is a product of our thinking. It cannot be changed without changing our thinking. Can't argue with Einstein.
Pretty much nails it. You need a different approach, different beliefs to get different results.
And he says the first steps are taking responsibility, no blaming, and then actually letting yourself imagine a better future. Just picturing it can be a catalyst.
Absolutely. Which leads perfectly into Law 6, know your why, the core idea. If your why is strong enough, the how doesn't matter. How does he unpack that?
Well, he contrasts basic versus advanced classes. Basic is off of the what, advanced gets into the why.
Interesting distinction.
He says the how is the roadmap, sure, but the why, your deep motivation, your purpose, that's the fuel.
Makes sense. You need the fuel to follow the map.
Yeah. And he throws out a bunch of why questions. Why college? Why this job? Why marriage? Why even listen to this deep dive?
Puts you on the spot.
Totally. And he criticizes that default answer for working to pay the bills, calls it empty. Says the impossible doers have a much deeper drive.
Got an example?
Yeah, the story of Big Mike and Little Mike. Big Mike had talent, but no drive. Little Mike, his blind friend, passes away. Suddenly, Big Mike transforms.
Wow, what changed?
He said he was playing for Little Mike, who he believed was finally watching him from heaven. It's intense, but shows the power of a profound why. He even uses that Pat Riley quote, "A champion needs motivation above and beyond winning."
That hits the emotional core. Okay, Law 7 shifts gears hard. Work like it's 1880. Challenges work smarter, not harder.
Yeah, he argues you kind of need both. He's critical of the modern obsession with finding shortcuts. Thinks real achievement takes serious effort.
He quotes Thomas Jefferson, "A mind always employed is always happy," and looks at historical work hours.
Right, using that Department of Interior data. Comparing 1880 to 1995. We have way more leisure time now.
It's easy to forget that. He even mentions Edison thinking the 8-hour workday was limiting.
And the average TV time, 2.8 hours a day.
That adds up fast.
He shares his own story, years spent watching Lakers games, realizing he was watching their dreams, not building his own. Mentions reality TV, celebrity obsession, then boom, Vince Lombardi. The dictionary is the only place that success comes before work. Hard work is the price.
We must pay for success. Direct.
Very. He even questions the 8 hours of sleep rule. Says he feels better working out even when sick. Points to athletes like Jerry Rice, Emmitt Smith, their insane work ethic.
Legends for a reason.
Uses that African proverb, when the leg does not walk, the stomach does not eat. Simple, powerful.
Connects effort and results directly.
And Clint Gardner's story, Pursuit of Happiness. Prime example of relentless work changing everything. And I like that Albert Hubbard quote, "If you want work well done, select a busy man. The other kind has no time."
Yeah, it's counterintuitive, but makes you think. Busy people get stuff done.
Okay, Law 8 flips to something different. Elevate imagination to a whole new level. He calls it a uniquely human trait, like a muscle.
A muscle to be built. He points to George Lucas, J.K. Rowling.
Yeah.
The worlds they built,
Yeah.
and how those stories affect us, feeling like Rocky, thinking about love after The Notebook.
Totally. He quotes Einstein again. Imagination is more important than knowledge.
High praise for imagination.
Right. He talks about directing movies in your own head. Picasso. I paint objects as I think them, not as I see them, going beyond just what's visible.
And imagination cuts both ways, right? Worrying about late night calls, teens driving.
Oh, yeah, the negative track. But also the positive. Dating, buying a house, building a business, all start with imagination.
True. You have to picture it first.
Then he hits you with those what-if questions. Win the lottery, what's first? No fear, what do you attempt? No money issues, what car? Live anywhere, where? Future event in your honor, how are you introduced? Really gets the gears turning.
Those are great prompts. Law 9. Be as curious as Alice from Wonderland.
Yep, her burning curiosity. He contrasts kids' endless questions with adults being afraid to ask, fearing embarrassment.
We do tend to lose that, don't we?
Yeah. He quotes Voltaire, judge a man by his questions rather than by his answers.
Insightful.
And gives that killer example. Kobe Bryant, after winning championships, going to Hakeem Olajuwon to learn footwork.
Even the best keep learning. Phil Jackson said Kobe always had an off-season goal, something specific to improve. Relentless curiosity.
That's the key. Okay, final law in this section, Law 10. Break away from the old you, reinvention time.
Yeah, don't be limited by past labels or screw-ups. He quotes George Eliot, it's never too late to be what you might have been.
Love that quote. He defines dare as having the courage to step out of the comfort zone, take risks.
And acknowledges failure as part of it. Edison's light bulbs, Bannister hitting 4.03 before breaking 4 minutes, realizing it was possible.
Failure is data, almost. He connects daring to facing fear, building confidence each time. And that Muhammad Ali quote, if they can make penicillin out of moldy bread, they can sure make something out of you.
Huh. Classic Ali. Gives you hope.
Right. He ends that Armageddon thought experiment trying to explain lost tech. Makes you think about the potential we just don't tap into.
Okay, so that's recreating yourself. Now, section 2. Identify your cause. Law 11 is decide to be the chosen one. What's he mean by chosen?
He clarifies it's not external, it's feeling a calling, a higher purpose, wanting to be the solution provider, thriving on responsibility, delivering on promises.
So an internal decision to step up.
Exactly. He hits with it, quote, playing a victim only attracts other victims. Being a stud attracts other studs. The choice is yours. Puts the power right back on you.
Direct. No room for excuses there.
He pushes you to figure out your cause. What do you feel chosen for? And a kicker question, 100 years from now, what do you want your great-grandkids saying about you?
Oof. Legacy thinking. Powerful stuff.
Definitely. Law 12 then says, go all in with one industry. Focus, focus, focus.
Yeah, he contrasts chasing trends with the deep passion of real achievers. Argues against spreading yourself too thin.
It's Andrew Carnegie.
Yeah.
The wise man puts all his eggs in one basket and watches the basket.
Bold advice in today's world.
It is. He criticizes jumping from shiny object to shiny object. Says real legacy, like Alexander the Great's, comes from deep commitment to one field.
Okay, focus.
Yeah.
Then Law 13, push the envelope. Where does that come from?
Aviation.
Yeah.
Test pilots going beyond the calculated limits.
Oh, okay. Makes sense.
He connects it to pushing your limits in life, seeing achievements not as finish lines, but stepping stones. Don't get complacent. Always look to expand.
Keep reaching. Got it. Law 14 builds on that. Turn your cause into a crusade, so bigger dreams emerge.
Yeah, he acknowledges that. Defines crusade as a vigorous, aggressive movement for cause.
Strong word, crusade.
It is. He shares inspiration from George Will and Reagan about standing up for something. Quotes Reagan's warning about freedom being fragile, only a generation from extinction.
Sobering reminder.
He points to leaders like Washington, Lincoln, JFK, Reagan rallying people to their cause. Says legacies are built by teams inspired by that crusade.
Right, it takes more than one person. Law 15 gets interesting. Channel your obsession. Everyone's obsessed with something.
That's his point. Thinking about kids watching sports, checking email, shoes, cars, social media, games. We all have them.
True enough. So what's the difference for high achievers?
They channel it productively. Instead of unproductive fixation, they pour that intense focus into their goals.
Makes sense. He includes that quote about ADHD being a gift to ignore naysayers, using crutches as weapons.
Yeah, and shares his own story not reading, then becoming obsessed with it.
He also questions medicating kids with ADHD, OCD too quickly, right? Suggests maybe those traits fueled innovators like the Wright brothers or Mozart.
It's a controversial thought, but interesting. He mentions that psychology today report people with ADHD 300% more likely to be entrepreneurs,
Wow, 300%. That's significant.
and lists famous people diagnosed with that ADHD or OCD. Timberlake, Will Smith, Phelps, Branson, Carey, Howard Hughes, Trump, Einstein, Michelangelo, Churchill, tons of them.
Quite a list. Many diagnosed later, viewing it differently.
Right, he brings back Einstein. I myself have no special talent. Curiosity, obsession, and dogged endurance have brought me to my ideas. Obsession plus persistence.
A powerful combo. Okay, Law 16, evangelize your message. This is about communication.
And sales skills, but not just for salespeople. Politicians, parents, anyone influencing others. Success means selling yourself, your ideas, your products.
So everyone's in sales, basically.
That's his argument. Great achievers master communicating with zeal, believing in their message. Great coaches, pastors, leaders, they're great salespeople. Asking for the car, dating, job interviews, parenting, it's all selling. You got to get good at it.
Become a prolific communicator. Okay, Law 17, aim for the moon, referencing JFK.
Exactly. Kennedy's 1961 goal, land on the moon before the decade's out. Totally audacious, given where the U.S. was then.
Seemed impossible to many.
But they did it. Armstrong, 1969, he quotes Proverbs, where there's no vision, the people perish. Contrasts starting a business just for money versus a vision that changes things like Apple or Microsoft, envisioning personal computers for everyone.
Vision matters more than just profit.
Yeah. You can't predict the future, but you can follow your dreams. Shares his own church experience, seeing massive growth under strong vision. Points out big visions evolve. Apple didn't stop at the Apple II.
Keeps growing.
Uses that Japanese proverb. Vision without action is a daydream. Action without vision is a nightmare.
Need both.
Talks about Amway's enduring success rooted in a huge vision of individual empowerment. And Churchill again. History will be kind to me, for I intend to write it. Big vision, big results.
Powerful connection. Okay, last one in this section, Law 18. Keep the faith, especially when things get tough.
Exactly. He shares his Army boot camp story being the only Middle Eastern private harsh conditions. Sounds rough. Mentions a Christian men's camp as a break. Says he lacked faith initially because of war, poverty growing up.
Understandable.
Then this guy at the camp gives him a Bible, encourages him, plants a seed. Maybe God has a plan. Faith, he concludes, is believing without proof.
A leap, but a necessary one sometimes. Okay, final section, go make history. Law 19, be bold.
Yes. Stresses that big life decisions define your path. Shares his own key dates. Coming to America, joining the Army, getting married, starting his company PHP.
Those defining moments.
Quotes George Bernard Shaw. The reasonable man adapts himself to the world. The unreasonable one persists in trying to adapt the world to himself. Therefore, all progress depends on the unreasonable man.
Love that one. Be unreasonable.
He advises running big decisions by mentors who've been bold. Avoid advice from the fearful or indecisive.
Good counsel there.
Napoleon Bonaparte. Nothing is more difficult and therefore more precious than to be able to decide. Emphasizes living without what-if, regrets. General Patton, you must be single-minded. Drive for the one thing.
On which you have decided. Focus and drive.
But clarifies, bold isn't reckless. It's wise decisions plus action.
Got it. Law 20, embrace your frustrations. Frustration is fuel.
Yeah, potential source of change, invention, motivation. Quotes Tony Robbins about past failures laying groundwork for new understanding.
Turning negatives into positives.
And Dora Lee Scott. Change will come only when the pain of staying the same is greater than the pain of change.
That tipping point.
Gives examples, frustration leading to weight loss, career changes, connects vision to imagining a future free from current frustrations.
Using frustration to clarify the vision. Okay, Law 21, fight adversity like Muhammad Ali. Resilience.
He shares his childhood story escaping Tehran bombings. First-hand toughness lesson. Credits his parents' strength bringing them to the U.S.
Builds that foundation of resilience.
Quotes Nietzsche, for a tree to become tall, it must grow tough roots among the rocks. And that Chinese proverb. When we have nothing to worry about, we are not doing much.
And not doing much may supply us with plenty of future worries. Action avoids stagnation.
Points to sports examples. Kirk Gibson's homer, Schilling's bloody sock, injured boxers. Toughness is playing through pain. Physical, emotional doubt. Ali again. I hated every minute of training, but I said, don't quit. Suffer now and live the rest of your life as a champion.
The price of greatness.
Got to give 100% even on bad days. Competition breeds excellence. Victory is coming if you keep competing. German proverb. Fear makes the wolf bigger than he is. And Coolidge on persistence being omnipotent.
Just keep going. Powerful theme. Law 22. Let controversy be your status quo. Embrace being controversial.
Challenges the negative view. Says it's often just part of making choices others don't agree with. Lists everyday things, leaving a job, parenting choices, discussing tough topics, dropping out, moving, all potentially controversial to someone.
Puts it in perspective. Normal life involves friction.
Contrast playing it safe with the impossible doer's approach. They often rub people the wrong way. Back to Shaw's unreasonable man.
Right. Changing the status quo isn't usually popular at first.
Lists historical figures seen as controversial. Muhammad, Newton, Jesus, Confucius, Columbus, Einstein, Galileo, Ford, Edison, Freud, Washington. A who's who. Doing the impossible means challenging the ordinary.
Good company to be in, then. Law 23. Silence your critics. How?
Starts with that analogy. Critics are like crickets. Make noise, but quiet when you get close.
Interesting visual.
Acknowledges the advice against being motivated by proving people wrong, but argues. Sometimes it works. It can be powerful fuel.
Okay, using negativity productively again.
Gives examples.
Yeah.
Losing weight after an ex's wedding, bullied kids learning self-defense, benched athletes improving, mentions UFC fighters, Michael Jordan getting cut.
Using doubt as motivation.
Historical examples too. Steinbrenner rebuilding the Yankees, J.K. Rowling's rejections before Potter, Ollie, again, master of using criticism.
He really embodied that.
Aristotle. Criticism is something you could avoid easily by saying nothing, doing nothing, and being nothing. If you're doing anything worthwhile, expect critics. Be grateful, use it as fuel.
Turn it into drive. Okay, almost there. Law 24. Charge your batteries with challenges. Lack of challenge leads to laziness.
That's his experience. Boredom, lack of stimulation drains energy. Feeling stagnant kills drive.
Like feeling sleepy during a boring movie.
Exactly. Argues chronic tiredness can stem from just lack of interest in life. Quotes Napoleon again, death can come from lack of energy, which comes from lack of challenge.
Wow. Deep connection there.
Pushes us. Are you taking the easy route or pushing yourself?
Sure.
Contrasts contentment with happiness, as happiness comes from being challenged, chasing dreams.
Contentment isn't the goal, growth is.
Uses a Trump quote. Without passion, you don't have energy. Without energy, you have nothing. Talks about boring jobs with no vision versus finding a company with a powerful vision, how that transformed his own energy.
The power of purpose and challenge. Okay, finally, Law 25. Make it fun.
Yeah. Enjoy the ride, highs and lows. Life's like an award-winning movie, unexpected twists.
Embrace the uncertainty.
Yep. Anticipate negative thoughts during tough times, but keep going. Shares his own low point in 2001, relationship, debt, car, dad's health. But an inner voice urged him to do something special.
But internal drive again.
Contrast that with later taking his dad to Hawaii, fulfilling that dream. Find fun in the process. View life as a collection of moving experiences. It'll be tough, but worth it.
A good reminder to enjoy the journey itself.
So wrapping up this deep dive into Patrick Bet-David's Doing the Impossible, it's clear achieving huge goals isn't just luck or raw talent, is it?
Not at all. It's this comprehensive approach, actively working on yourself, finding that core purpose, and then just relentlessly pushing through the obstacles.
Yeah, the 25 laws give really practical insights, I think. Mindset, relationships, work ethic, resilience. It covers a lot of ground.
It really does. Gives you a framework for tackling those things that feel impossible.
And on that note, maybe a final thought for everyone listening. Considering all these laws, what's one thing you've maybe always filed under impossible for yourself? Does hearing this make you feel even like a tiny bit more inspired to tackle it? And maybe what's one small actionable step you could take towards it this week?
Just one small step. Good challenge. And if people want to explore more, they can check out www.patrickbetdavid.com.
Definitely worth checking out.